But look, let's talk a bit more about it. And one man that knows more about it is Water Safety New Zealand CEO Jonty Mills, and he joins me now. Jonty, kia ora, good afternoon.
Kia ora, Leah, kia ora, listeners, and thanks for having me on.
No, look, thank you, Jonty, for your time. So sad news about this young man that obviously got into trouble over the weekend. And was I right in saying that we're probably looking at a very, very busy summer in the water?
Yeah, look, your introduction was bang on, and look, it's been a tough year for everybody, 2020, obviously, with lockdowns, etc., and people are really keen to get back on the water, and we're already seeing people flocking to the water in all ways, shapes and forms as the weather heats up, and on the back of that, we've also seen huge increase in sales in boats and jet skis and paddle craft, so people are going to be out in force this summer, and they're already doing that, and as you rightly said, nobody's leaving the country, so it's going to be all domestic holidays this summer, and we're already seeing those huge numbers flocking to the water. And sadly, as you said, we've had 2 fatalities over the weekend where people have lost their lives.
Now, 90% of us enjoy the water in some shape or form. 90%, whether that's fishing, boating, or swimming, which you'd know, Jonty. So we're already, we love the water. We are water people, but also a large number, sadly, are still men and young men. Is that kind of, overestimating the ability and underestimating the risk? How do you get that through to people?
Yeah, look, again, you've done some good research there. You're exactly right. And we are a nation of water babies, as you said. It's part of our culture. It's part of who we are. And we play in the water. It's actually higher than 90%. It's about 97 or 98.
Oh, my gosh.
Play in the water in some way, shape or form, whether it's fishing, boating, swimming or whatever. And as you say, predominantly it is a male problem. About 80% of all preventable drownings are male. And bang on, we tend to overestimate our abilities and underestimate the risks. The thing about water, it's incredibly welcoming and inviting, and we're a beautiful coastline country. But at the same time, as we saw in the Bay of Plenty, it can be incredibly changeable and unforgiving if people don't make the right decisions around it. So you're right. We are a water culture, and long may that continue. We've just got to make some good decisions around water and respect the fact that whilst it is welcoming, it can be incredibly unforgiving.
And I was talking about too how swimming pools in schools, Jonty, in the last 4 or 5 years sadly have been closing down, or because the schools can't afford to keep them going. So it's up to the parents, and if they can afford to get their kids swimming lessons. So we need to kind of get at an early age of that swimming taught at school or taught as children instead of just jumping into the water as an adult and not really knowing what to do.
And that's right. We're seeing more and more kids come out of our education system without, and it's not even the competitive strokes or the Olympic swimming type situations, those basic foundational water safety skills, learning how to float, learning how to get themselves out of trouble if they do get into trouble. About 70% of our efforts goes into that program across schools, Water Skills for Life. But we're seeing, sadly, and it's not the school's fault, more and more school pools closing for the very reasons you mentioned. They're high maintenance and high cost and health and safety reasons, etc. So if kids aren't getting it through the school pool, they've either got to get private swimming lessons, which for a big chunk of this country are unaffordable. And we're seeing a survey done by the government agency, New Zealand Council of Educational Research, 2 years ago, found that only a quarter of schools were delivering a minimal or an adequate level of aquatic education. So for us, from a long-term drowning prevention perspective, it's really concerning because, like you said, it's the same kids who are going to be going swimming, going to the rivers and jumping off bridges later on.
What are some of the things that I mentioned before about that you don't like to see at the beach? Obviously, swimming in the flags has always been the major. But things like I read not taking, the lilo, the blow-up one that's reserved for the pool, don't take that to the beach because kids sit on them, like the big swan or whatever. They can.
The big pink swan.
The big pink swan, they could one puff of wind and off they go.
That's exactly right. We see more and more of that, and probably this summer we're probably going to see a lot more of that, given that Christmas is coming up and people are staying in New Zealand, as you pointed out earlier on. So they're not designed for the beach, and as you said, one puff of wind and you end out in the middle of Cook Strait if you're down here in Wellington. So they're designed for pools and certainly not for the open waters. And as you rightly said, the safest place to be on the beaches is between the flags, and that's because the surf lifesaving crew know where the safest spots are. And we're seeing really changeable conditions, and sadly in that Bay of Plenty situation, the conditions and the sandbars and the currents and the rips change all the time, and it's about that local awareness and that local knowledge of where the safest places are to be. And you also mentioned before, actually, people are broadening their horizons in terms of where they're going, and they like to go to more remote places, particularly out the far north. And not every beach can be patrolled 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And also too, it's the trend, and you mentioned it, Jonty, with paddle boarding, jet skis, boats. It looks easy on, when I look at my social media page, people up there, on their old paddleboard, but it's not as easy as it looks.
No, paddleboards are a good example. They can, with a puff of wind, you can end up out in the middle of Cook Strait as well. And often people aren't wearing life jackets on those or on paddle craft. And look, we know that life jackets save lives of the recreational boaties, the small under 6 metre boats, of those people who drown. The research shows that about 2/3 of those would most likely not have drowned had they been wearing a life jacket. So look, it is a simple life-saving mechanism. But as you say, we are seeing more stand-up paddle boards, more jet skis, more kayaks and that sort of thing that people are going to be out playing with on the water this summer. So there's that level of personal responsibility as well as those toddlers, really, those under 5s. And we all know how easily we can be distracted with social media. You mentioned it before.
Yeah.
And how quickly they can disappear. And really that only foolproof solution for those toddlers is that constant adult supervision at all times.
You're not down looking at your phone. And just quickly, Jonty, I don't know if it's already done. Can you hire life jackets could I go to a very busy beach in summer and there'd be someone there hiring out life jackets, or does nobody do that?
No, absolutely, and there are some life jacket hubs around the countryside, and actually Coast Guard do a fantastic program, an old for new life jacket program, whereby you can take in your old life jacket and get a brand new one. No, you can. There are life jacket hubs around the country. People can go on the website to find out that information. But you're right, particularly if you're going to be paddle crafting or going out in the boats, it's just essential to wear that life jacket.
Friends of ours the other week said, we've decided what we're going to get ourselves for Christmas. And my husband and I were like, oh, what? And they pulled out this picture of an inflatable, little boat. I said, oh, it's a boat. And they're like, yeah, and we can put it on the top of the car, and we could be in Waiheke, and you guys can fit on it too. And I remember saying to my husband when they left, I went, I ain't getting on that boat with them. There ain't no way, Jose. He's like,
well, yeah, look, all the toys are designed for specific reasons. So, and the sensible thing is to use them for what they're designed for. Yeah. And those small inflatable boats aren't designed to go out in the big open waters and go fishing.
I tell you what, I've gone over to Waiheke before, even on the big boats, and it's, when that wind comes up, even they get chucked around. So no, not for this girl. Jonty, I thank you for your time. Jonty Mills, Water Safety New Zealand CEO. Look.